The win totals have been updated. Let's get into it now.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making Locked On Cubs your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day. Like the video and comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section, how many games do you think the Cubs will win in 2024. Today's Wednesday episode is presented by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB, that's all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. Well, I entered today's episode bearing good news as the FanDuel odds have been updated, including the over-under win total. And right now, it's currently at 84.5 wins. The current NL Central odds are as follows. Cardinals plus 155, Cubs plus 200, Reds plus 400, Brewers plus 600, and Pirates plus 1,600. Sam, this is such a winnable division. It's mediocre, really, in its current state. Only the Pirates are not in position to compete, but maybe even they get off to a good start,
I
just
think
like
the
they
Pirates,
did last year.
I think the Pirates are going to be better than people think.
Wow. So let's get into the over-unders, the division. There's going to be a Locked On MLB episode coming out where all the division hosts were in it, and you were a part of that on for a Tuesday recording.
Yeah, way later.
But let's go over this because the odds have changed, the totals have changed, and 84.5 does seem like a fair number.
Yeah, I think so. And I like the over.
Okay.
I like the over. And
here, how about this? Fill in the blank. So we know it's 84.5. The Cubs' projected win total is,
for me,
87
wins.
Okay. And how would you how would you describe the 84.5 projected total?
Accurate.
Okay, accurate. All right.
I am frustrated. I'm frustrated by hearing those odds and hearing those numbers, because it feels like if this ownership group was willing to just go over the first set of luxury tax thresholds, or the CBT, this team would be far and away the favorites. I believe Jordan Montgomery ups them up to about 86.5 at the over-under. I think a lot of people in my mentions on Twitter on Tuesday afternoon were hurting me with their dismissiveness of Jordan Montgomery, acting like I was exaggerating when I called him a stud pitcher.
Okay.
This is somebody who
is... Well, baseball reference is available to everybody.
This is somebody who's reliable in the postseason. He's going to pitch one of the first 2-3 playoff games. It answers a major question. When you have a starting pitcher like Montgomery, I made the funny analogy on Twitter this afternoon. The 90s Mets with Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz would have gladly slotted in Jordan Montgomery 4th or 5th. Every great team could use a Jordan Montgomery. In the Cubs' case, he might be a 1, maybe he's a 1B. But everybody needs him. He's not blocking Jordan Wicks. Let Craig Counsell handle that part of it.
I don't believe in blocking anybody, actually.
So I'm frustrated. I think 84.5 is accurate. I think right now the division is in a coin flip sort of situation between, maybe the Cubs and the Cardinals and the Reds. I personally do like the Cubs, and I am a little bit conflicted because I do like a lot of the things that are going on with this Cubs team, but it's just frustrating because if you've said this, I would go as far as to say almost double-digit times on this very program, and that is, why can't we develop and spend? Why can't we watch guys blossom and be in a place
Right.
to win this division hands down?
Well, and they can, or they're not choosing to, or there's something in the financials, things that we've talked about before. But the truth is that there is a handful of teams or so that are doing that they can develop and spend simultaneously. And I get the frustration. It's too bad that you have to use a phrase like coin flip. The division shouldn't be a coin flip.
Right.
Look at the division. Look at the other teams. You know, you were reflecting on what the other hosts on our network were talking about during that recording. It should be a situation where the Cubs are pulling away from the field, not that the field is bunched together like it is right now. And boy, is it really bunched together. I mean, FanDuel has the Cardinals at 85.5, just one game above the Cubs. The Reds are 3 games behind the Cubs, and the Brewers are and Pirates are at 77 and 75.5, respectively. You already have a solid core in place. You have the Imanaga and Neris additions. You have the top farm system with players who will be ready soon, and you have Craig Counsell, and you have intriguing parts of the team: Morel, Bush, Taillon, other people that, the sum of the parts, it tends to lend yourself to be optimistic, but at the same time, the balloon is a little bit deflated. So you're 2.5 M's to the CBT. Montgomery, his market is probably down to the Cubs, the Angels, and maybe the Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're Jed Hoyer and you're whiteboarding the roster right now, and whatever Ivy, their projection system, is spitting out, Montgomery makes so much sense, especially if it's a 2-3 year deal with an opt out after 1 and an opt out after 2. So there's a lot on the table here. I think the 84.5 is accurate, like you say. It is fair. But my instinct right now is to not take the over, unfortunately.
Really?
That they're all bunched up right now.
Well, you don't think this is going to be a very good club?
And I feel like the reliance potentially on the prospects is where they could get hung up.
Wow.
Stop banking on what could be done and get guys with established resumes. Resumes.
Wow.
That was a joke. But, my instinct right now is the under. And I know that's breaking news. And I know it's big news. And I know when stuff like this happens with our dynamic, people tend to, maybe let's hit rewind or something. But
well,
yes,
I'm happy.
I would take the under.
I'm happy because now everybody can call you a pessimist, man.
Well, to my core, obviously, I'm very positive. But,
but Matthew,
it's not doing a lot right now for me.
And I have a counter argument.
Okay.
And I hear you.
Okay, thank you.
And I respect you.
Thank you.
But I've got a little counter for you.
Okay, a little bit of a counter. Is that the calculator?
I'm going to read you, forget the COVID season.
Okay.
Craig Counsell's managerial win total since 2017.
All right.
86, 96, 89, 95, 86, 92.
Wow.
Craig Counsell's never had a full season of managing where he's been under 86 wins. And this Chicago Cubs team is more talented than some, not all, because when Woodruff, Peralta, and Burns, and Devin Williams, and Josh Hader were firing at all cylinders, this Cubs team is not as good as those clubs.
No.
But I think this Cubs team is better than, at least more talented than last year's Brewers club that won 92. Think about it. Woodruff didn't pitch the whole, he had some time off. Burns wasn't great. Peralta missed some time. There was no Josh Hader, and the offense was quieter than a Charlie Chaplin film. So, I don't see why he can't. And again, I think these expectations with Counsell may be a little bit crazy of mine, but I believe in the managerial seat, and I believe.
Well, I don't disbelieve in it,
and I don't think he's coming here season 1 and winning 84 baseball games. I just don't.
Well, I hope not, and trust me, Counsell has given me a lot of comfort all off season, especially during the times of inactivity.
Well, and I think he might have
times where all the hypotheticals. And the times with the prospect rankings, man.
I think he might have gave Tom Ricketts a little bit too much comfort financially, if you know what I mean.
Maybe so.
Maybe that's why he doesn't go over the first threshold, because he thinks he could put his feet up and say, hey, we got Craig Counsell. We don't have to worry about, spending a ton of money because this guy knows how to win on a budget. And for those people in the comments, let me just get out ahead of this that are going to say, how many playoff wins does Craig Counsell have? Well, first of all, he did win a playoff series and took the Dodgers, I believe, to Game 6 in 2018. But secondly, let's worry about that mid-October. Let's have can Craig Counsell win in the playoff debate.
The last day of the season, we'll have that.
I can't wait to have that debate mid-October, because that means we're playing playoff baseball, which is great for everybody. In order to lose in the playoffs, we got to get there first. Last season, we came up a game short.
Well, and I was looking at the schedule today. It's packed in April and May. Cubs play 61 games from opening day through the last day of May. That's almost 40% of the year.
Wow.
It's
not a lot of games. Days. Well, that there's another reason to go get Montgomery, and then Wicks could get mixed in as a 6th.
Well, and especially if Imanaga needs some time in April and May.
Right.
But I imagine today Craig Counsell checking in with Jed, maybe walking over down the cart path there at Sloan, maybe shooting him a text.
Right.
Hey, Jed, what's the Montgomery market like? Any updates?
I don't think it's a text, man. I think Craig Counsell has a say. I think it's in person up, wherever they meet there in Mesa. And I think Craig says something like, can we do this? I mean, I came here for a reason. Can't we go over the first luxury tax? And Jed says, I'd love to. And then Tom says, let's all meet for a steak, and I'll explain why this ain't going to happen. And, let me tell you this. I think some of the higher ups with the Cubs watch this program, and I think they're going to be very upset when they hear that you took the under.
Yeah, I know that's a surprise.
I'd like to say,
right now it's the under.
I'd like to thank Jed Hoyer and Mr. Ricketts and David Ross, because last year I got the over at 77.5, and I felt very, very convicted on it, and that was a lucrative thing for me.
Now, opening day is 3 weeks from Thursday. Perhaps my stance changes, but as of recording time on March 5th, as we're recording here in the early evening Central Standard Time, it's about 42 degrees overcast. I'm saying under.
Okay.
So, coming up next, we do know what Jameson Taillon is up to. We're going to update you next on that. Stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Whether it's tournament season or the fight for the playoff home court, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of year. Plus, baseball season is right around the corner. Get in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your sports knowledge into serious cash. Prize Picks is really simple to play, with your entries taking less than 60 seconds to submit, turning $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps of your screen. Right now, the Prize Picks board for the MLB season has plenty of players and stats to choose more or less on. So all your favorite players, all your favorite stats, home runs, strikeouts, stolen bases, and more, you can pick and choose more or less on all those. We talked about it in the last episode. Christopher Morel is more or less 26.5 home runs, and there's a bunch more from the Mike Trouts, Aaron Judges, Juan Sotos. You could play around with that on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB, all lowercase. for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Jameson Taillon has been limited to only live at-bats and simulated games so far in spring training. However, he will likely make his first spring game start this weekend. According to Matty Lee of the Chicago Sun-Times, Taillon has been working on things in a controlled environment and is dealing with some soreness in his calves. Sam Taillon was a big ticket item for the team last offseason. He posted a 4.84 ERA in 154 innings in 2023. And it's going to be important that he gets right for the Cubs to do well.
Yeah, and he's a guy that I'm looking for a big rebound season, and I don't like what that starts, soreness in calves. Remember, he had a kind of a weird soft tissue injury in April last season. I don't like that. Jameson Taillon right now is trying to avoid being Edwin Jackson.
Ooh.
Remember that?
Yes, I do. One of
and it was
weird signings.
Yeah, it was always like, all right, maybe is this going to be the year that he gets it right? And there were some signs, and I think his first year with the Cubs, he was at a 4. It was almost right around that ERA. I think it was high 4s, and then the next year he came back, his ERA was over 6.
Yeah, and the Sun-Times report, which we're going to cite the Sun-Times again later in the show as well, in terms of working in that controlled environment. So he has the calf soreness, both calves, by the way. But the stuff in the controlled environment, Taillon has been working on the consistency of his delivery, namely fixing his stride direction, which will hopefully give him better shape to all of his pitches. Again, this is according to Matty Lee of the Sun-Times. Like we hinted at for Tuesday's episode, whatever works. If that's what it takes to get him better and right the ship,
yeah, it's just
then so be it.
Yeah, no, and I want Jameson Taillon to be really good. I like Jameson Taillon. He had a really good stretch at the end of the year last year, but I think every Cubs fans now, all of us, we don't have much patience now. It's year 2,
right?
$68 million. He knows this. Go ahead, pitch. Keep the ball in the park, get out lefties, be a productive guy for this team because if not, there will be replacements possible.
Right. Well, and I do think he's a very aware person. He's really bought into the infrastructure of the franchise and the resources. Now it's about harnessing those in order to get better. And I would like to see him start on March 30th, that Saturday night game. If he's behind the 8 ball here, maybe that is Hendricks, and then Taillon pitches that first Wrigley game. But I would like to see him out there against the Rangers and test his mettle and appropriately test him right away. So we'll see how the rotation shakes out, but I hope he remains healthy. I hope these adjustments with his stride are working out nicely, and we'll be excited to see him out there hopefully as soon as this Saturday. Coming up next, there is some television news that dropped on Tuesday that we want to share with you, and that is that the Cubs might be returning to over-the-air television. Stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your car alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one car, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car to the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your car alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today covers the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Search Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Speaking of channels, also according to the Chicago Sun-Times Tuesday, the Cubs game next week on Tuesday, March 12th, broadcasted by Marquee, as has been the case since 2020. Here's the twist, though. That Tuesday night game next week will be simulcasted on CW26 in the Chicagoland area. CW26 is the rebrand of the former WCIU, as we remember as Cubs fans, when WCIU was part of the WGN family.
Yep.
Marquee
Channel 10.
Yeah. Marquee will use the game as a promotional tool, while Weigel Broadcasting, who owns CW26, is making it known they are available to broadcast local teams' games. So this will be the Cubs' first regular over-the-air TV game, Sam, since 2019. It's something that caught my eye today, and I'm curious if the Cubs pursue this as maybe even just a Sunday thing. Hey, every Sunday game is on over-the-air TV on the U. And, let's see how this progresses.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I think it's potentially big news.
I think it's the prelude to big news. I think it's the first domino to drop of big news. So,
because the Bulls, Sox, and Hawks contract with NBC Sports Chicago ends this October.
Right.
So you could see
I
like a
miss those days.
CW26 maybe throwing their hat in the ring.
I used to love a nice like Tuesday night WCIU game in April or something because, the Bulls had the WGN game or something along those lines. And then remember CSN Plus,
Oh, wow.
which
was on CLTV, I believe.
Yeah, CLTV, right.
Yeah.
So the Cubs, if the Blackhawks were in the playoffs or the Bulls, we get those were fun times, man. Come home.
Well, these are memories as of a fan of a franchise that's been around generations.
Not like the Diamondbacks.
Right. But that was cool hearing all the memories like in displays at our last live show. And, how did people watch the Cubs growing up? And one of them was the U, now CW26. And even for the streamers like you, Sam. So here's the big kicker. This channel is available on all the platforms, which includes the ones that don't carry Marquee.
Exactly.
Like Hulu, like YouTube
TV,
Yeah.
I'm a YouTube TV carrier.
Right. So I think this would be good. Maybe this is more of a play for CW26 for the other teams, the other tenants in town. But if they want to carry one Cubs game a week, I think that's positive.
Agreed.
Because as we see the other pro teams going back to over-the-air TV, I don't think the Cubs want to be left out, even though they have their own network. So it's something I'm going to keep an eye on for sure.
Keep an eye on it for the both of us.
Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. Coming up on Thursday, we're going to go over the opening day roster projection. Okay, that's going to be for Thursday. You give us 20 to 30 minutes, and we'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube, smash the like button for the algorithm, and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcast. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.
There is momentum happening here.